everyone, if you're new to our channel, I'm Sarah and my husband and I practice the homesteading lifestyle and we support our dreams by running our laser engraving business from our house. Today I'm up in my kitchen and I am showing you one of my favorite treats. This is something I love to make at Christmas time. However, if you followed us for a while, you know Christmas time is also our busiest time of year. So sometimes these things have to happen after Christmas. This is one of my favorites, a recipe for Russian tea cakes. And I've heard them called many things over the years, but I still like to call them Russian tea cakes. It's something I made with my mom and I believe she made them with her mom too. The ingredients you'll need for this recipe is 1 pound of soft butter. So if you think you're making it, set your butter out. If you don't have time, it's okay if you heat it up in the microwave for a little while. 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. If you don't have powdered sugar, you can actually make powdered sugar out of regular white sugar. I'll link a video up above where I show you how to do that. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm actually going to try making homemade vanilla soon for the first time, so I'm really excited to try that. Leave a comment down below if you've done that before. I'm excited to give it a try and see how it works. 2 1/4 cup of flour, and you can use just about any type of flour. So if you have gluten intolerance or something, you can use a different type of flour. It'll still work really well. 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 3/4 cup of chopped nuts. I'm going to be using walnuts, which work great in this recipe, but my favorite way to make it is to use chopped up pecans. So good. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Make sure there's no candles sitting on top. My oven's preheated and I'm going to mix a few of the ingredients together. The butter, the powdered sugar, and the vanilla. You can use a mixer like I have here, or you can just use a fork. I'm gonna add that salt, add that flour, next it's time to add your chopped nuts. I usually buy nuts not chopped because they tend to be a little more affordable than buying them already chopped up. And I have a small food processor I can use to chop nuts. I actually have a few devices I can use, but my favorite thing to use is this old nut grinder that I got at an antique store a few years back. It's a lot like the one that my mom had when I was growing up, and one of my favorite things to do when we would be baking together, and my sister I think, is take turns grinding the nuts. I just love the consistency that these nuts grind up to when I use this. It is a little bit more effort, but for some reason, I don't know, it might just be nostalgic, but I enjoy doing it that way. I had been at my grandma's a few years back with my kids making cookies with her, and I kind of chuckled when she went to make her cookies because she took her nuts out and she lined them up on her cutting board and she took this gigantic knife and she chopped up all her nuts with a knife. And for some reason, I had never really thought that that's probably how most people get nuts chopped up. And she just said, that's the consistency I like. Nothing else works right. We'll work those nuts in. So the next step is to take the dough, and it's almost like Play-Doh texture with nuts in it, and make about 1-inch balls and put them on an ungreased cookie sheet and put them in that oven. We preheated it already to 400 degrees. And they don't really get any bigger in size, but we're gonna bake them for about 10 to 12 minutes. And the goal is just to get them to set up rather than turn color or get bigger. If they start turning brown, you've probably cooked them a little bit too long because they're gonna kind of have a burnt flavor. So they really don't have to cook all that long. And then while they're still warm, we're gonna be rolling them in powdered sugar. So while they're in the oven, I'm going to get that powdered sugar out, ready to roll them in. I love lots of things about this recipe. One thing I really love is the ingredients themselves are really interchangeable. I have made this with a dairy substitute. So for someone who could not have regular butter. I've also made it with gluten-free flour. There's lots of options of what you can do with it. Some of those other options, they don't set up quite as easily, so I've had to sprinkle the powdered sugar on rather than rolling it in it. But even so, they tasted delicious, and I myself could not tell that I used those substitutes. That's always a great sign, right? While the tea cakes are still hot, I'm going to roll them in some powdered sugar. Then just set them aside to cool. Try not to eat them too hot because they are quite hot. Now if you used any substitute for the butter or flour, you might have to just sprinkle that powdered sugar on top because they might not hold quite as well as they do with regular butter and regular flour. I love this recipe. It's just so simple, so quick. I can make this little batch real quick just for a little something, a little treat. And I almost always have the ingredients on hand. If I do want to make a big batch, it doesn't really take a whole lot of extra time, and they freeze really well. My favorite thing to have Russian tea cakes with is either coffee or hot chocolate, or during Christmas time, eggnog. Oh, so delicious with eggnog. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, be sure to click that thumbs up down below. It's great for our YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button to see more videos like this. Glad you got to see me again. Bye.